So, the new Saints Row game has caused me some issues in the last few weeks. Not because of the game trailer, which it was pretty bad, like most other people have mentioned. No, what bothers me is the reaction to the game. So, a lot of people are coming out and basically dropping the words of snowflakes, Fortnite kids, and Karens when they look at this game. And that is just a bad sign all around because usually those people are people who are not exactly thrilled with progressive ideology. And I'm not saying like you can't use the word Karen or like you don't have to like Fortnite. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that these are common insults for things that people don't like when they are not as progressive as they think they are. And that's just not okay. So, the new Saints Row game is not looking to a great start. I played like Saints Row 1, Saints Row 2, I skipped 3, looked at 4, didn't really play it, but I looked at it. And Saints Row is basically, in a really, really brief summary, it's Gangster's Paradise. Like, it's that song, but like in an interesting story. Like, that's kind of like a really hard way to describe it, but like emotionally, that's what gang that's what the game's kind of supposed to be. It's Gangster's Paradise. Just like you get to play as it. And Saints Row has also been a really interesting case study because it's surprisingly progressive. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that the woman characters are adamantly represented well, but they have Asian characters, black characters. Uh, the Latino characters in the first game weren't great, but like they were one of the bad guy factions, but whatever. Like, it's not as bad as like it could have been, and they improve upon this in the further games. So, I think Saints Row is actually pretty generally progressive, all things considered. I'm not going to sit here and say that it doesn't have its problems, but I will say that it is a pretty harmless game. So, why are people then rage quitting over this new Saints Row game? I'm, of course, presuming that most people have watched it, and if you haven't, you should go so you can understand what I'm talking about. But the general consensus is that the game is not gangsta enough. It's not cool, it's not edgy, it's not what you feel like to be a gangster. And I will agree on some of those points. These kids are kids who are literally going into crime because they need to pay off their student loans. And there's also this guy who has like an electronic helmet, childish looking. Like, it doesn't seem threatening or badass or any of that sense. It feels like kids trying to be gangsters. And the thing is, I'm actually okay with the idea. It's just how they're executing this is kind of rubbing people the wrong way and also bringing out their worst biases. So that's one of them. Like, but the real main concern, probably for me, is that these are college kids who are going into crime to pay off their debts. Yeah. It's also their designs. Like, if you look at Dex compared to the new smart guy, I'm doing air quotes, Dex is a genius, and it's shown through that, but he looks like a tough MFer. This guy just looks like a nerd who got dragged along by their more tougher friends. And that's not exactly what Saints Row is. It's a tough game. It's a game where you do shooting outs and you rob banks and you take down gangs. Like, the only way they can redeem this through the story is that they realize that they're in over their heads and that they have to change as people to become the gangsters to get this whole money thing off. And it could be great social commentary. I don't know. But the game doesn't look like it will be. And so I agree with most people on the fact that it seems that Saints Row is not looking great at what it's trying to go back to. Because this game is supposed to be going back to its roots. And Saints 1 and Saints Row 2 is very, very much gangster. Like, you are morally probably not the best person, but you are the best person in the current context. You are better than the other three gangs. As a gang. Like, you are trying to stop crime so you can control crime, and, like, basically you're Jason Todd. You're trying to control crime to make the streets better and safer for others, but also getting some moolah. And that's fine. And they had to rebuild this entire thing up, so that's fine. I'm actually willing to see how they go with this. But I find the real thing I wanted to talk about is the utter shame I feel about liking this series. Like, basically the majority of my community, or at least the majority of people on YouTube, are complaining that this game is where a bunch of snowflake Karens yell about they're basically complaining that it looks progressive. Like, they literally say, oh, it looks too social justice warrior-y. And there are, like, one example that they brought up that I'm like, okay, that is slightly annoying. So one of the restaurants in the original first and second game is called Freckle Bitches. And it's such a ridiculous name for a restaurant, and it's so corny that you kind of just smile. I told this to my sister, who is very progressive, and she kind of chuckled at it because it's not, like, it reminds us of Hooters. Like, Hooters isn't great, but, like, it's a reasonable, funny name for a sexual restaurant. It's funny, and that's what, Saints 1 and Saints 2 did. It had that kind of vulgar humor, but it was vulgar enough to please people and also not offensive enough to offend people. And some people are saying that they're going to the more clean-cut humor, and I'm okay with that because, again, if it does offend people, we need to focus on that. However, the fact that this is bothering so many people and people are just willing to discard this game already without really even giving it a chance and calling it a game where social justice agendas are being pushed and that this game is for the snowflake Fortnite kids. And that's another thing that's been bothering me. Like, I don't play Fortnite. I don't like the game particularly. But it's weird that for some reason the next generation of millennials are beating down this game that's done nothing wrong. Like, some people just look at Fortnite and they just ooze hate for no reason on it. Like, it's not my particular cup of game. I don't like it personally, but, like, I don't really get why people are so that they insult this entire generation of players who enjoy this game. Like, is this really the best part of your time? Is this really that worth getting upset and angry and aggressive over? And this is kind of the same thing with, like, Saints Row. Like, look, I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's not Saints Row 1 or Saints Row 2, but they are going back. They did say, the original people who are making this game did say they wanted to go back to their roots. And they kind of are. Like, we're getting gangs back. We're getting character customization. Like, we're getting a new area with new characters. And sure, it looks a little more kid-friendly than the other two games, which is fine. They're trying to appeal to a more wider audience. So honestly, I'm kind of willing to see where this goes. I can understand why some people are a little skeptical about this game. I can understand why people are like, this isn't Saints Row. And I can understand why people feel a little hurt because their community has not really been given a lot of games. But I'm just gonna say this now. As a Metroid fan, kind of take it easy. Like you got in 4 games, major titles. All of them have been somewhat recent and good. Honestly, they've all done well. I'm not gonna say Gat Out of Hell was a good game, nor was Agents of Mayhem. Those games were just kind of a really. But like you're getting a new game, and y'all complaining about it. Just saying. Metroid hasn't gotten a game for like 20 years until just now, so eh, whatever. I'm not gonna go into that, but the thing is that the Saints Row community needs to kind of chill. You're getting a game. It doesn't look amazing, but like it does seem like they are trying to go into the right category. And you guys just hissing and fussing over this is ridiculous. So yeah, that's basically how I'm feeling about this Saints Row game. I am curious. I don't know if I'm gonna buy it yet, but I will see reviews. But just kind of be more chill, internet, about like other games. Like if they're offensive, sure, go all at it. But like they're not. Calm down. It's just a game. Anyways, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.